All right, I am here with the guest of honor. It's her baby shower day, her TV baby shower, which is a rite of passage for all of you hosts. Welcome, Alyssa Farah Griffin.
Thank you, Brian. That was so wonderful.
Did you have a good time?
Honestly, it meant so much to me, and I know how much the producers have been working behind the scenes to make it special, and just like seeing it come together meant so much to me. And then also having like my friends and family and women I admire and men I admire like Andy Cohen give their advice. It honestly meant so much. I'm like weirdly emotional, so I'm trying not to cry.
I was really touched by the co-hosts because I thought they were really, they asked them to do things like that all the time, and they were excited to do it, and I feel like they were really thoughtful in the advice they gave.
Totally sincere.
Yeah.
And then like I wanted nothing different than what Joy gave me, which is the truth that my boobs are gonna sag. But no, every one of them, it's actually all of it is advice that I've gotten. Like Sunny saying, record everything just like for your own memories, because he's gonna be this tiny little thing, and a month later he's gonna be like twice the size. And like Sarah just leaning on your community, like Whoopi, they're so wonderful. And this show, I think people have a lot of like perceptions about, and there's always the intrigue and stuff, but I have to say I've never felt more supported by like colleagues and by my co-host than during this pregnancy. And I think it's because they know how everything I went through with IVF, they knew how long this took for me and how much I wanted it. So it just means so much to hear from them and have their support.
It's really great for everybody around you to see that. Yeah. And I think about it, when you first were auditioning for the show, you weren't even married.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
Yeah,
yep.
and here you are. It's been a journey.
Yeah. That's true. It was October, right before I got, like a month before I got married.
Yeah, so
wow. Time flies.
It does.
Justin had no idea what he was getting into.
He was a trooper on the show today, I think. It's intimidating to sit at that table. He did a great job. We had an audience filled with pregnant women. Who all went home with some nice stuff, which is pretty good.
Good stuff.
And but they seemed to enjoy that. It wasn't a joke. We really had paramedics on standby.
There was literally a stretcher when I walked off set. I'm like, that was smart. Well, a couple of them were due right around when I am. They could.
You never know. You never know. And we had confetti cannons that didn't go off. And if they had gone, there was some concern if they went off, there would be an issue. But it was all good. So I have to ask, because we are coming to the end here. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling honestly good. I think there's some science behind this. Toward the end, like you remember this with Heather, like you're not really going to sleep. There's no getting comfortable. I think I'm averaging like 3 to 4 hours a night. But when I do get it, it's enough to energize my body. It gets me through what I need to. And I think it's good preparation for when baby arrives and I'm going to be up every couple hours breastfeeding. Like I'm already kind of conditioned to it. I also think that like a lot of pregnant women will joke, like I feel like I've been pregnant for like 5 years. I feel like that, and I feel like the discomfort at the end makes you so ready, like I'm ready for this baby to come, because otherwise I could see dreading, like, oh, I'm not looking forward to labor, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm ready to meet him, and I'm ready for him to be right here, not right here.
Absolutely, I'm sure. Kara Swisher gave some advice about staying offline and things like that. Mm-hmm. Do you think you'll do that? What do you think will happen?
Someone asked me that. Also, someone asked me if I was going to watch The View on maternity leave. I'm going to try. I want to be really present and try to spend as little time following the news cycle, at least for the first few weeks. I did a podcast with my friend Tim Miller at the Bulwark maybe 2 months back, and he pointed out to me something that hadn't occurred to me, but like, my child is never going to remember Donald Trump in the White House. He's never going to remember this moment in politics.
That's right.
There may be things that influence that era that he's going to come up in, but as big and scary as the world right now feels, and you're right to feel that way, I want to be present for like what the life is he's going to have afterward, and tune out the things that I have the privilege for a small period of time to hopefully tune out. But then I'm going to re-engage, because it's like I need to be able to do this job when I get back, and I also think you have to understand the world that you're bringing a child into.
From what I remember of this time, because again, it's different for the dad, but I spent a lot of time in a rocker, rocking the baby to sleep and reading and things like that. But then you definitely get into a point where you're just sitting in the chair and you got a phone.
Right,
So
exactly.
just kinda,
and I've had friends say too that it's like it's the most rewarding and bonding period, but there's going to be a moment where you're like, I need to engage my adult brain into activities. So that's when I think I was going to get back to like reading things. I want to be thoughtful in how I do it though. Like choose the outlets I'm reading, not just do the doom scrolling on social media.
I'm here for texts. Let me know. I'm available for it.
And I will watch The View, by the way, but I'll probably watch it at like 1 a.m. on Hulu while I'm breastfeeding.
Well, you're admitting it. Most hosts say they don't watch The View when they're not here. And like Joy, whenever she's not here, she's like, I'm not watching the show. And I get notes on every segment. Every segment.
Yep.
It was great to have her back today, which was good.
I know. I missed Joy. It's fun to have her back.
Yes, absolutely. Did Justin have any notes about the shower before he left? He got out of here pretty quick, I noticed.
He had a meeting in Connecticut, but honestly, I think that he's kind of blown away by the show because, again, like, we all have our perception of what The View is before being a host of it and being here as long as I have. And like for all the like funny headlines about us, I think he's so appreciative of everyone. I think he realizes like I have such a good community here. The co-hosts have been so good to me. The producers have been so good to me. And I think he was very touched by the effort everyone put in.
And I'll give a shout out to the producers that worked particularly on this, Summer and Dana, Molly and Sophia, everybody, and our whole team, but they worked really hard.
They really did. It was amazing.
I'm glad you're happy. All right, let's get back to politics while we still have you.
Dum.
Dun, dun, dun. So the lead topic today was President Trump on Monday called for Republicans to take over and nationalize voting as he continued to make false claims about the electoral process in America. So for me, like, it's funny because, Joy's been on this tact for a long time. She'd be like, maybe we won't have midterms.
Yeah.
Every time she says that, I'm like, let's not be alarmists. Let's stick in exactly what the facts are and what's been talked about and things like this. But it's an opinion show. That's her genuine opinion. It's starting to seem like when he says something like that, I kind of have to say to Joy, I'm like, okay, well, I understand why you feel that way. Tell me your thoughts on this.
Well, I'll start by playing my favorite game. Imagine if Barack Obama had said this. And I mean, the absolute outrage, and by the way, probably by Dan Bongino, who is conducting this interview with the president, if he had said, we're going to nationalize elections, take them back from the states. I mean, it violates the Constitution
completely.
Blatantly.
Yes.
And it goes against what's been a 100+ year long conservative principle of federalism, of states' rights. The states oversee the elections, not the national government. I'm also old enough to remember when things like national databases were something conservatives strongly opposed. Remember during COVID, I mean, what shifted the right almost completely away from like, hey, science and vaccines and American free enterprise are good things was, well, I don't want a national, registry of people having COVID vaccines. Right. National gun registries are something that conservatives have always been against. This is your political data, your personal data, your social security numbers in some cases, your email addresses that you would just be willingly turning over to the federal government. So I find it appalling from a conservative standpoint. But I also go back to, because I've been asked about this and we've talked about it behind the scenes too, a number of times of how seriously to take it. And I remember being in the White House in the early summer of 2020, and then Chief of Staff, so it would have been spring of 2020, then Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney was asked, if Donald Trump loses the election, will he peacefully leave office? And Mick, who's someone I still get along with very well, is a very smart guy, was kind of laughed it off and was like, of course he will. And I, in my head, did too. I don't think I ever said it publicly, but I'm like, of course he will. And then after he lost the election in 2020, I stayed till December 4th, but I remember that Thanksgiving break being, I off the record said to a few reporters, I think he's going to go to Mar-a-Lago and might just never come back to the White House. He may just pack it up and call it. So I misread all of the
I remember
tea
a lot
leaves.
of people thinking that at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was sort of, and he actually didn't end up going. I might have been for Christmas. It was one of the two holidays that then people were like, oh, yikes. Like, that's not great.
You've talked about it on the show before, and it made a lot of news when you did. He admitted in your presence that he lost that election.
Yeah, he said it was something along the lines of watching the TV, can you believe I lost to this guy, pointing to Biden. And I always give the caveat, maybe he meant, I don't believe I lost to this guy. But how I believed it in the moment was that he very much acknowledged and knew that he did. And I think I personally, it's always going to be my belief, he knew he lost the election. And then it became the machinations around what can we do to stay in power. And that's when I ran for the hills.
Was it a shock for him? I mean, Election Day 2020, what was the feeling in the White House?
So I think that there was like a an optimism, but subtle, and there was a nervousness. But what I've said, and I said this when I testified to the Department of Justice and to the House in like the January 6th
Voluntarily.
Voluntarily, yeah. No one should have been surprised. I was fairly confident he would lose. I'm never in elections like wholly confident one way or the other, but I was like, I expect he will lose. I had kind of started to privately with my husband talk about, he wasn't even yet my husband, talk about, what I was going to do next, regardless of the way the election went. But we also had internal polling, and internal polling at a presidential level, when you're spending millions of dollars on it, tends to be extremely accurate. And it basically called every swing state exactly how it went. So, and I remember a very senior Trump advisor telling me after the second debate, this is a really big uphill battle for him to win. Like, it does not look good. There were people around him who both knew that and were saying it to him at the time. But there were also people saying, you could never lose. You're going to win by a landslide. You did win by a landslide. So there's always that friction.
Right. So now all this news about these comments he's making and what he's doing in Georgia. There's been also a lot of outrage and questions over Tulsi Gabbard being involved. Yeah. She's the United States Director of National Intelligence, and she's taking a lead role, I guess, in an FBI raid on the Fulton County, Georgia elections offices, which she says she was told to do by President Trump.
Yeah, make it make sense. So technically, like, the Director of National Intelligence oversees all of the intel agencies. The FBI does fall under it, so she does have some purview over the FBI, but not over a domestic American election in the state of Georgia that's already, by the way, been litigated and gone through all of the legal hurdles that it would have. I can't think of a single credible, serious reason that she would be there. What scares me, and I always want to be careful because I don't want to sound alarmist and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but we heard from workers in the state who have said, we keep these ballots in our custody. They're preserved. They have been since the election. They've gone through all these audits. The second they're turned over, they don't know the chain of custody. They don't know, like what are they being used for and what information do they think they're going to get that they didn't have before? And then add to that you've had the president start to lean into some of the more bizarre conspiracy theories, something with like Italian satellites, something maybe with Hugo Chavez, who has not been in power for a very long time. It's not something we should ignore. The point I made on the show, though, that I think is important is, let's say that Trump means this both literally and seriously, to Sonny's point, and he wants to nationalize elections. There's some effort to do that, or there's some way that he wants to have more control in the midterms. This is where governors, secretaries of state and states and attorneys general need to know their power and need to claim it. And they need to have plans right now to do that and to fight back. We've seen states win in the courts. I mean, every one of the 60 plus cases in 2020 that ended up being won for the states and that Trump lost,
right,
it was because people fought back. So like this is one where I believe in the courts and the state's powers, but you also have to be ready for it. You have to get ahead of it.
I know we don't know, but what do you think the end game here is for him? I mean, to manufacture or show in his mind that there was voter fraud and then use that as a basis to change the way we do elections? I'm just trying to figure it out.
So it's kind of two different things. I think Fulton County, I think there may be some effort to claim that he actually won by a landslide in 2020.
Okay.
I think that's going to be real hard. You're going to need more than the state of Georgia.
But what would that even gain for him at this point? He was reelected.
Yeah, to my point, focus on the election you won.
Right.
It's so bizarre. The midterms are different to me because I think he's very nervous about congressional oversight. I think he assumes he'll be impeached by the House. I don't think that the balance of power in the Senate will change enough that he could get impeached by the Senate.
Oh, really? You think it's going to be still?
I think Republicans might hold it, but even if they didn't, it'd be like a one seat. Mm-hmm. And you remember, you need a super majority to convict in the Senate. But still, he doesn't want to deal with. He hated impeachment 1 and 2, and he doesn't want to deal with that again. The fact that we have like impeachment 1 and 2 is just weird. Yes. It's just like, what?
It's rare that the third one's the best, but you never know. Exactly. I'm trying to think like, I like Return of the Jedi, but I don't know. It's, yeah.
I don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
And there is an element to what I think Sarah and Whoopi have pointed out whenever these topics come up, that some of it is distraction, but I also never want to.
So we've talked about this a lot, the whole concept of flooding the zone, which was a thing in Trump 1, they've mastered it in Trump 2. I mean, this weekend was insane.
I mean, the fact that Don Lemon getting arrested for conducting journalism was like the B block on our show because
Yes.
so much had happened. We
Yeah.
had 3 million Epstein files
Right.
released. Like it's unheard of what we're seeing.
And the Epstein files, and again, they're still going through it because there's 3 million files here, but it doesn't seem like there's anything going to come of this either. Do you think that's going to change?
I don't think it's going to from the Department of Justice, and that's been my take all along. I think that there is information that could and should be investigated further.
It seems like it needs to be followed up on.
Some very horrifying allegations against some very powerful men. But I think if there's any sort of anything that comes of this, it will likely come from outside investigations based on the information DOJ has released, or it's going to be information from the Epstein estate that's completely separate from the Department of Justice.
For a long time, the hunger to see these files has been from the MAGA crowd. Are they mollified by this at all? I haven't seen a lot of outrage about a lack of follow-up.
I think that it's honestly split screen America and it's choose your own adventure. And I think people who spent years believing everything from Pizzagate to QAnon to, every Epstein theory, they're sitting there like, yes, Bill Clinton, but then ignoring the other names that are in it. Howard Lutnick, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, more so than I think any other individual.
I saw one meme today. It was that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files more than Harry Potter's name is in 7 books about Harry Potter.
Yeah. And then there's also misinformation. I don't know if you've seen this, but like there's people like adding Mamdani into the Epstein files.
Which is insane.
And I'm like, what are we even? So I think people are choosing their own adventures with it. And it's a shame because if there's anything that should be completely above partisanship, it should be wanting to stop child sex trafficking.
Absolutely. Left, right, anybody that committed these crimes should be prosecuted.
Yeah.
All right. Before we go, we had a Democratic Texas Senate primary candidate, James Tallarico, with us yesterday. What did you make of him?
Really liked him. So I discovered him similar to Whoopi on like Instagram Reels. He just kept popping up because he's super plugged in on social media, and I didn't know who he was. And to be honest, I had listened to a couple clips of his before I knew if he was a Republican or Democrat, because he talks a lot about like his faith-based approach to policy,
right? Which tends to be more Republican.
You would think, and what I think he's doing that's really interesting because like I'm a person of faith. I'm Episcopalian. We go to a Reformed church. My husband's Catholic, but like our belief is like we can't I don't really let politics enter my faith because I think that there's on the right you want to pick and choose and say, okay, so abortion is the top issue because the church cares about abortion, but then you just leave out the part of like, but we care about refugees and we care about immigrants and we care about like supporting and taking care of the poor. And so I like that he's pushing back and reminding people like all aspects of what the Christian faith actually entails and actually calls on us to do. It's super interesting. He and Jasmine Crockett are neck and neck in the polls. There was a big poll this weekend, like statistically tied. I liked his answer. I thought he was super gracious when asked about her and said he will support her if she ends up being the nominee. I assume she would support him if he is. But I think kind of regardless of who gets the nomination there, he will have a big profile in the Democratic Party. I think he kind of harkens back to this, not so much on the religious side, but this Clinton era Southern Democrat who looks and talks like a lot of maybe Republicans do, but is preaching Democratic values. And I think that helps. And I think it helps in the Sun Belt in the South. And I think it helps in parts of the Midwest where there's been sort of this like loss of voters to Donald Trump. But I think a lot of those votes are up for grabs right now because they're just not happy. They don't feel like Trump's delivered for them. Now,
all I can think about, and you can tell me this to mind my own business here, but you mentioned you and Justin having different religious backgrounds. What about the baby?
So we think it's actually easy. He's going to be baptized Catholic. So Episcopalian, we're basically Catholic light.
Sure.
We have a family priest who fully supports that I am a person of faith and we're going to baptize him Catholic. And he will have the full confirmation and all of that. It's never been an impediment to us.
That's great.
The gospel is the same, like our faith and the core tenets of it are the same. It's more just like little like traditions that are different. But honestly, like Episcopalians our services are also very similar to Catholic services.
My dad was Catholic. My mom was Lutheran. And I was raised Lutheran, my sister and I, and my daughters are too. But it's interesting. I asked my parents why they went that way, and it was because my mother said, because your father wasn't going to do anything, and I was going to take care of all of it, and that's why he went that way.
I know.
Yeah.
I think it tends to gravitate toward the member of the family who's like more religious religious or
Yeah.
like more practicing of their faith. What's really important to us is Father Burt is our family priest. He baptized my father-in-law and both of his brothers, married my in-laws, baptized my husband and his brother, married us, married my brother-in-law, will baptize our baby. So he's in his 90s. I need
That's
to get him to
lovely.
the show before he comes because he's a Whoopi super fan. But like he just means so much to us too. So like I think him being baptized Catholic is as much about Father Burt as anything.
Heather's grandpa was a Methodist minister, and he married us and baptized both our kids.
It's
and
the best.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. All right, so that was curious. And then on baby front, is the name locked?
It's actually not. We're very between two names. Both are family adjacent. One's more traditional than the other. I think it's going to have to be how I've named all my dogs, which is I think I have to meet him and know. So nothing's like nothing's monogrammed. We love both and we'll be happy with both. We just can't.
Is one the middle name either way?
Middle name we've decided.
Middle name you've locked.
Yeah. I'll wait to share it. But middle name's a family name that we've known from the outset.
Yes.
Every Griffin firstborn has had it as their first or second or middle name. So.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. All right, but the first name
First
could go either
name
way.
could go either way.
All right. Oh, this is very exciting.
Yeah.
All right,
it's
I'll
very-
be placing bets in the office
I
pool.
know exactly. Let's see. Where is it on Poly Market?
All right, so you're going to be here next week.
Yeah.
And then
And then I'm gonna be out for a bit.
yeah, and we're going to miss you for sure, but we'll hear from you. I'm hoping you
Yes.
take videos, keep us
Yes.
posted.
I will keep you guys posted. And you've got some fun fill-in hosts.
Yes,
I
we haven't
will-
announced them yet, but there'll be more to
Oh,
come on that.
yes.
It'll be different without you here, but we'll persevere
Yeah.
and we'll welcome you back as soon as you're ready, which will be
Thank you.
exciting. All right, thank you for joining me today, Alyssa. We'll have one more podcast next week too. Tomorrow I'll be back with Sarah Haynes. We'll see you then, and thank you.